Okay, I am here with Murray Clark. He is the CEO and co-founder of Neighbourgood, and Murray's in South Africa. And he popped up in the Facebook group and said something about Redwood City, which is 20 minutes for me. And Murray was one of our first Coworking Startup School students. I like when I was looking for your email address, I think it said 2018. Does that sound
It
right?
was a long time ago,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to be part of your alumni.
I know you were so original. I was like, why have we not kept touch? I was like, I guess maybe the time zones. I don't know. And here you are. So I sent you a note and I was like, I'm not even going to send you a list of questions. I just want to know, what are you up to? And then did you have, how old is your son?
He is 1 year and 3 months, so
Okay. So he's new.
he's super new and he's keeping us really busy. He's an amazing little boy, and we are very in love with him. So it's awesome it's being a parent changes your life. So it's a really cool
100%.
experience. And then our other child is the company that we started together,
Wait, you and
myself,
your
Kim.
wife.
Yes, myself, my wife, Kim, who heads up our brand, and our other co-founder, St. John. And we started Neighbourgood in the middle of COVID in, I would say, June of 2020,
Okay.
about 2 years after we met.
Okay, so yeah, tell me, was this your tell me about the business model. Was this the original
Okay.
business model? And because I remember, I think you must have been doing our sessions like practically in the middle of your night because the time difference is a little bit challenging.
They
Yeah.
were so late, and I'm sort of getting used to it now because we have a full team on the ground in the Bay Area. So I'm used to late afternoon or late
Okay.
evening calls and getting used to the
Yeah.
time zone. And I think if we are going to run a global company, we need to get used to the early mornings and the late evenings and the use of technology.
Yeah.
So it's been a really incredible journey filled with so many learnings.
Okay, so start
When
from, what did you used to do? Then what was the sort of, because I know you're not strict co-working. I don't know exactly what your model. So walk us through the story. And then I
Okay.
what I really want to do is fast forward to, what are you doing in the Bay Area? But we'll go in
Okay.
order. We'll go
Okay,
in
cool.
order.
I think I've always had a love for the built environment. I was lucky enough to grow up around building sites. My late father was a building contractor, so had him to look up to. So he had a big influence on my life, just generally in business. And we started off in entry level residential. I got the property bug when I was about 18 years old and started selling houses, which is a great place to learn the real estate space. And that progressed into small buying and selling of apartments, into smaller developments, which progressed and progressed. And over time, as you hone your craft, time plus a lot of effort and persistence, you tend to get a little bit better and better. Never necessarily easier, but and so then in 2008 changed direction a little bit after my father passed away and started looking at convenience shopping centers as a potential area for investment. And we built out about 45 convenience centers in and around South Africa in urban and rural townships, anchored by the Walmarts of the world and things like that. So heaps of ground up construction work. But I've always looked at the built environment quite differently. I think potentially because we are sort of a next generation of entrepreneurs coming through the system that are thinking about sustainability and just the world in a slightly different way to how
Mhm.
people might have thought about it 20, 30, 40 years ago. And the impact that the built environment can have in the world that we live in. And we started developing concepts that we felt were better for community and better for supporting local and better for sustainable principles. And initially, it was something that we built out called Big Box, which was an entrepreneurial development platform that we would find, fund, educate, and mentor young entrepreneurs within a township setting. And those were the initial learnings within a retail setting. That progressed into a brand that we built called Good, which you might remember. I don't know if it was before or after our time together. And Good was the evolution of big box, and it has become the evolution of what Neighbourgood is today. And it was really the integration of a series of themes: living, working, mixed use, wellness within a single space. And that's when we started developing proficiency in the co-work space, because we just saw the world moving towards these very collaborative, community-centered spaces that offer a series of mixed uses. And I think what Neighbourgood has become, which takes us to June of 2020, is where we see the future going in terms of physical space and the optimization of space generally. And it's really a connected city product offering that focuses on lifestyle cities like Cape Town and others like them, where we have set up a propco and an opco across living and working themes laid with experience. So those are the three products: living, workspace, and experience in a single product offering in an all city, all access passport. So the rationale is that if you are from Holland and you are visiting Cape Town and you want to spend 1 to 3 months here, Airbnb is not necessarily the right platform for you to find community.
Yeah.
It can solve your accommodation problem, but it's not going to necessarily solve your ability to find people that are like-minded, connect with one another. The experience of it might be quite different depending on the space that you let. And so what we felt is that off of the macro, which is a massive migration of the way people are moving to lifestyle cities following the end of COVID and the way we all live and work these days, combined with the opportunity to repurpose buildings across the world, which is a massive problem for landlords globally, given the structural shifts in the world of physical real estate. We felt like Neighbourgood could solve both of those problems. And that's really connecting living workspaces and experiences in a density format in lifestyle cities like Cape Town, and then threading the golden needle through each building with an all access passport, so that you can use all our common spaces, all our workspaces, all our work clubs, connect with an entire community of a few thousand people across the city within a single brand, essentially, if that makes sense. So it's broadly a mixed use product offering that integrates everything you ever need as a remote worker, a digital nomad, or a young professional within any age category, really, that provides a really cool, consistent experience and helps landlords solve problems to fill their buildings, which are a lot harder to fill these days than they were 20 years ago. So we built out 19 buildings since launching 3 years ago. We have about 1,000 odd units across living and working spaces. We have been lucky enough to get to break even through a lot of hard work by an incredible team of about 135 people now. And yeah, I think what we've been able to do is build a product that people love. And that is a work in progress still. I mean, every customer has his or her own requirements. But what we've seen is when you're building out a density product offering, and Neighbourgood is really about, at its core, bringing good to neighborhoods and thinking about the world with more sustainability, with more love, with more kindness, with more warmth. And like, especially in these times, we think that's more important now than ever before. Bringing those hospitality themes and all of those themes into physical space, and then making that part of the customer experience, and then making sure that's across the whole city. Because when you are 28 years old and you come into Cape Town for 3 months, the experience is not just our buildings, it's the entire city. And so for us, that's been a massive part of our strategy. It also has massive benefit to efficiency because we have cluster management across 19 buildings. So I can have you around our buildings in Cape Town within an hour and a half, all 19 of them. It means we can use stronger management teams within smaller geographies with a higher density of buildings in that area. It means we can create higher levels of brand density. So because we're in this pocket of the city and now into Redwood City and a few others, and I'll tell you about that and our rationale there as well, because we have some really good partners there. You see the brand all the time, you interact with the brand all the time. And even if you aren't living and working with us, you're using our cafes, you
Yeah.
are joining our free yoga classes, you are coming up, you're doing walks with us up Table Mountain, you're attending our entrepreneurial events. So the brand experience overall is a broadly mixed use city one. And it's not just about living in working spaces. And that's really, in summary, from our early days where we started seeing the world going, wrapped up into a citywide product offering that we now think is scalable into other cities. I think to talk to scale, it will be sustainable. We will leverage OpCo and PropCo principles to do that. We are property people ourselves, so we understand the process of acquiring assets that may be underloved, which is our focus, helping create cultural relevance once again, using our brand and product to do that, and bringing hopefully a lot of good to the neighborhood in doing so. So PropCo obviously has limitations because there's a significant amount of capital required.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at global scale, that's something that has to happen on a city by city basis, and it requires a separate pocket of capital. PropCo investors are very different to VC. And so there's different capital requirements for both. OpCo is really where scale will come. And I would say that we own in Cape Town 50% of our buildings and operate 50% of our buildings in revenue share or hybrid lease agreements. Which is a very asset-light approach to the way we work. But we do see the value in PropCo as well, because we're able to generate net asset value through the process of reposition, being able to buy assets and taking them through that process and essentially taking that value to balance sheet by sorting out cash flows, etc. In terms of the US, which is our most exciting prospect at the moment, and scale generally, we will follow the same process that we have undertaken in Cape Town. So that's focused on building a density model, not just one building, but 15, 20, 30, 40 buildings connected within a geography. And our product, you can stay with us for a day or you can stay with us for 12 months. The choice is really yours. We super hybrid, and the same goes to say for our workspaces. We have a slightly different view on workspace. Generally, we like the idea of bringing the cost down substantially to a point where it's very affordable. For us, we've always seen workspaces within the context of our product as a place that that interaction happens, that community happens, and we really wanted it to be as accessible as possible to a very broad market, which is easier said than done, because I think for a freelancer or an entrepreneur, is $350 a desk affordable? What we want to try and do is bring it right down to say $100 a month within a really cool space, connect the dots across our buildings within a living and working setting, layer that with experience so that you have access to a beautiful community across the city, and then just make it this like living, breathing ecosystem within cities rather than being too far and wide. We've obviously seen in the market the likes of WeWork and Sonder and Selena come under pressure because of their lease model, the breakneck pace at which they've been able to grow. And I have a lot of admiration for all of those brands, but what we've seen is how important sustainability is and structuring deals correctly is, that satisfy both landlord risk and operator profit and time requirement. So that's been super important for us, which is where we see more management agreements and or sort of hybrid lease where there's a waterfall in place to satisfy landlord minimum income requirements. But that shift still needs to come, both on in terms of modeling for workspace and living. Landlords are still landlords, and their first and biggest priorities is to protect the capital value of the asset. And when they start having to take operational risk, then you really have to start looking at the jockey more and more, which is, I think, not just a landlord risk, but a banking risk as well. And it's a life risk. Generally, you back people. So that's going to be really interesting for us as we continue to expand. I think we will look at 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 cities in the US and build out density in each city, partnering with some incredible people and landlords who have access to a large footprint of properties and problems to solve, either vacancy or they're looking to integrate the Neighbourgood product offering across their city, linking living workspace and experience within a core product offering. So that's our strategy. And it's all going to be about building an incredibly good team of people who share in our vision and mission to bring good to the world. And I'm excited to see what the future holds.
I mean, it's an incredible vision. I mean, I have like bits and pieces in my brain of kind of what you were looking at the beginning, and this is grand. I mean, it's such a giant scale. It's amazing. It's really interesting. Would you say some of this was amplified due to COVID, or was this part of the vision from the beginning, or how much did it evolve?
I think that vision is incremental. So you have a vision at the end of the tunnel, but sometimes it's not always 100% clear.
Yeah.
But you know the direction that you're going and you have a gut feeling, and you might need to turn left or right along the way. But in the end, there were always these themes, and we were always thinking about the world with a view to create a better, more sustainable reflection of what the built environment should look like. What I didn't realize in building out our initial versions of what Neighbourgood is now is that it doesn't all need to be in the same building. It can be across a city at a product level.
That's what I'm picturing. Like you had sort of this contained mixed use.
Correct.
Example.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what we've done is extended the net a lot wider, and we've looked at the way people move within cities. And how people spend their lives, all people, and what the requirements are for those people who are our core market segment is a fairly transient working professional who's thinking about travel as a big part of their life, who's thinking about maybe spending 3 to 6 months in Cape Town, or living here for a period of their life, or living in Miami, or living in Melbourne, Australia, or London, or wherever it might be. And we're essentially building infrastructure for their living, working, and lifestyle requirements. So that's essentially what we're doing, wrapped up as a brand, delivering it as a product, which essentially solves their problem, because now they have access to a community of a few thousand people within a city across anything they need. So living, working, lifestyle related needs at a price that's affordable. And then on the other side of the table, we're solving problems for landlords. Because we aren't just a property manager, we're a brand, which is important. And we're a brand that for every location we're able to roll out, so the value proposition gets a lot better. Because with density, so the USP gets a lot better, if that makes sense. So that's the progress. And I'm sure if we sit and have a conversation in 2 years' time, we would have learned a lot and it would have evolved a little bit more. But yeah, we're excited about it. I don't think there's anything that I've seen like it. There's versions of it. There's a lot of really cool workspace companies, and there's a lot of really cool experience companies, and there's a lot of really cool residential companies, but none that have connected the three. And that's going to be the opportunity, but the challenge as well is how do we connect those three core pillars within a connected city product offering in a way that is simplified and easy to manage and optimize. And yeah, so that's going to be the challenge. But we've been able to do it in Cape Town, and we're doing it quite quickly in Redwood, which is a really interesting market for us. It's very different to Cape Town.
Let's use that as a case study so you can tell me how. So I'm guessing you found some partner found you and said, let's replicate this. Yeah.
So I found them.
Okay.
Yes. I think as new business goes, a lot of it is just reaching out and convincing people from the other side of the world to bring our brand from Cape Town to the US wasn't an easy feat, but the brand and product makes sense in the world that we live in. Even if it isn't Cape Town, I think what we did is created a really cool proof of concept across, say, 1,000 units. And the customer is very similar. So all of us, whether we're American, South African, Australian, are all thinking about the same themes in the way we live. We're all thinking about wellness. We're all thinking about community. We're all thinking about purpose. We're all thinking about these things that matter. So while there might be slight cultural differences, the common denominators are all the same, and we're all looking for flexibility, and we're
Yeah.
all looking for really cool. So I felt confident knowing that we had built out a brand that people can identify with. And what's important is knowing that there's no cookie cutting approach to execution, and that context is different wherever you go,
Mm.
not just at a building level, but at a human level. So, and no person is the same, and no building is the same. So, we need to be adaptable in how we present product within context with a series of underpin values that are present everywhere rather than taking a Cape Town product and putting in Redwood and hoping that it works. In Redwood, what you've got massive employers in Facebook and
Yeah.
Oracle. So some seriously
Yeah,
big
I mean, for
companies
people
and
listening, it's, I don't know, a half hour, maybe 40 minutes south of San Francisco, depending on traffic, but it's straight down the
yeah,
peninsula and it's just north of, I think it's just north of, right, Facebook, Oracle. I mean, all the
yeah,
giant Apple's a little further, south,
yes.
but Google, I mean, you name them. Yeah, they're down there.
Stanford. I mean,
Huh.
we went to Stanford and you get blown away. I mean, you watch these,
Yeah.
YouTube videos, people are speaking on from Stanford, and like now you're there, it's like, what the heck? But the fundamentals of it's very entrepreneurial, it's very family orientated as a
Yeah.
city. There's really great schools.
Yeah.
There's a lot of civic pride in the area. Cape Town is very different. It's like nomadic, it's transient, it's people visiting from all over the world.
Okay.
Redwood is a little bit more family related. There is pressure on affordability for housing, and I think
Yeah.
that's just generally across the whole Bay Area, not
Yeah, I
just
would
Redwood
say
City.
pre-COVID, we were, and maybe that still is the case. The thing that's changed is a lot of those big companies have much broader remote work policies because it used to
Yes,
be there essentially was no remote work. And so
correct.
everybody had to go to the campus, creating like
Yes.
massive traffic problems. Very little housing is so expensive, and there's just a giant lack of it. There's no inventory.
No.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
guess that's lightened a little bit, but
Yeah.
because of the remote work policies. But
Yeah. So so there's definitely an undersupply, but at the same time, I think that it seems like there's a lot of people coming back to the office,
yeah,
which has been interesting for us to observe generally since COVID and that migration back to the office or back to at least some sort of hybrid setting. In respect to our strategy for Redwood, I would say 70 to 80% will be a collaborative social living in a co-living setting where we manage properties for and on behalf of landlords like we have for our property partners on the ground, connecting the dots as we go, integrating a work club as soon as possible, which we hope will open in January, of about 10,000 square feet with a view to increase it slowly. Less insular offices, more open, slow lounge, fun, community centric for our customer.
for your right.
And
Yeah,
yeah. And there's a number of reasons for that. I think we've just observed a lot around the world what works, what doesn't work. And what we need to lean in is to our theme, which is way more accessibility,
yeah.
affordability, inclusiveness, making it affordable at a rate that everyone can afford once a month with free coffee, with community, with events and activations. Ideally, we could bring that cost down from, say, $100, but I think then we will be. It is a margin thin business at those sort of levels, but at the same time, you don't have to incur significant tenant fit out costs because it is primarily FF&E and it's more of a slow lounge, less of a workspace. We do manage full workspaces in Cape Town, and they've been really successful. But we find that the customer that serves our business, and I'm separating the financial modeling from it because it's really amazing to have big tenants as well. And we can definitely manage big buildings within a city filled with normal corporate companies. But our target customer, which brings culture to space, is actually the freelance young entrepreneur, people who will walk past and smile at you and
Yeah.
like and interact and all these things. I'm not saying corporates don't do that, but broadly speaking, we really want the customer who is spending their hard-earned money at for $100, and we're giving them as much value for that as possible. And then at the same time, bringing as many affordable residential spaces across the city as possible, and then making sure the community is amazing and that people have access to events, access to health and wellness, yoga classes, Pilates, everything that we can do, supporting local business in that process. So rather than trying to run it all ourselves, be a platform for community and micro communities, which has been a big part of our strategy in Cape Town. It's not all about Neighbourgood, it's about building these beautiful micro communities within our own spaces that can thrive on their own merits, if that makes sense. So that's been really important for us as well.
So how do you grow that community yeah, how does that happen on site? Sort of I'm guessing the core is the residential piece and then you're extending it out.
So,
That?
so it's definitely organically, but with a city focus. So if you look at our social media strategy, it's geared to the whole city. It's anyone who wants to attend our cafes, our events, our class, anything. So we go after everyone in the city and in that community, and we make it free and accessible, because community is hard to find within a city setting. So we've sort of wrapped circle around Redwood City, and we said, what do the people of Redwood City actually want? And we'll get pushback initially, because people see us as property developers, and property developers have a notorious reputation for essentially just trying to extract value. And it's difficult because obviously it's a generalization, but a lot of it is also true. We want to be a way more sustainable next generation property company that hopefully leaves the world a better place than we found it, and in the process of doing that, bring as much good as possible. So first and foremost, extending the net far and wide, not just making it about our members, like bringing a citywide community, which is important. And then at the asset level, making it real and authentic. I think not trying to force it down people's throats. In the end, the customer will tell you what they want. And if we are trying to force community by having, too many events or things that we haven't really discussed with them, that's something that we've learned our lesson in the past. Making it contextually appropriate as possible, building micro communities within spaces. So it's not necessarily just about Neighbourgood. As I said, there's so many talented people who have a skill set to host networking events or functions around what they do, be it design classes or something that has value. And everyone is interested in so many different things. So it's hard to create a one size fits all. It really needs to be real, authentic, and appropriate for the communities within each space. And then the network effect of being able to connect multiple buildings in a city mean that the ability to create community is a lot easier to find because there's so many more people to draw from.
Okay, so what does it walk me through like a user experience. Like you can use Cape Town since it exists. Like if I come, then what? I come for, I don't know, 6 months. So I stay. How do I get introduced?
We pick you up at the airport in a limousine. And then, I'm only joking. You have to catch an Uber to our space. So initially, we hope that you will find us through a personal recommendation.
Okay. Yeah, that was part of my right. How do you attract? Yeah. Okay. Personal recommendation, and it's probably based on the housing aspect. Yeah.
It's our biggest compliment, and definitely where we are focused predominantly. We find that because of the time zone, there's a lot of Europeans who know us. We are sort of I would say dominant, but the most well-known co-living and workspace product offering in Cape Town, and the density helps that. I think that you would either find us if you are looking for living space and you wanted to come to Cape Town. First and foremost, if you can find us through recommendation, that would be amazing. If not, you can also find us on any of the aggregators. So you can find us on Booking.com, Airbnb, and any of the big guys. For us, that is a cost of doing business, and the aggregators are too strong not to use. Yeah. We are not lucky enough in the workspace setting to have those powerful, not that I'm aware of at least, those sort of aggregators for our customers, but we would use.
There are some, they're not as central and strong. Yeah.
Interesting. Yep. Okay. It's probably an opportunity, to be honest, if there was a
Yep.
global sort of dominant, because if I think about the power of booking.com in a residential setting for short stay, I know Airbnb is looking at more longer stays as well, but my goodness, they really have a foothold on the market. So you'd find us there. We're obsessed with like defining the narrative around an end-to-end customer experience from the communication, which talks to Neighbourgood as a brand and what our values are. We don't take ourselves too seriously. You'll find the communication you receive is fairly light-hearted. It's designed to elevate your mood and who you are as a person. We want to lift you up and bring joy to your life as much as possible and bring as much good to who you are. So it won't be functional in what you receive from us at a communication level. We will try and make it as simple and seamless as possible by booking online on our system or through our app, which launches in November, which we're really excited about. You will arrive in Cape Town and there'll be a big, beautiful mountain in the background and a sunset going down, which is part of the experience. And whether you get to our space in a limousine or in an Uber, you'll be received with as much kindness and warmth as possible from our extremely competent and loving front of house team. And you would have the opportunity to opt in to our citywide WhatsApp groups or communication groups where you can join any one of our events on any day. And there's so many all the time. In our room, there will be really cool welcome packs with handwritten notes and a lot of hospitality detail that's super important to the hospitality experience. You will have access to all of our workspaces in the city. So if you have work to do, it will be free for you to enter. And so that's super important for anyone who's staying here for a longer period than just sort of leisure stay.
Especially if they bring their 18-month-old with them.
100%. Exactly. So we'll have a cot ready for you if you want as well. And then the experience is really the city. I think that's what's important for us is city and the community. So connected city and community and the underlying values and just like adopting those values for the period of time that you're with us and hopefully being able to share the good news as you go back eventually when that happens. I think it is a very thoughtfully designed customer experience that has taken us a long time to put together, that is still a work in progress all the time. There's always a human factor. We are not trying to necessarily be technology only. And when humans are involved, things happen. But we try and get it right 85 to 90% of the time. And hopefully we take good care of you in your stay and you come back, which would be our biggest compliment yet, is a returning guest who stays with us for a few days or a few months or 6 months. So that is customer experience in summary.
So when I check in, so I get access to Workspace, which is amazing. And then how do I get connected to and then the WhatsApp groups? Is there any other way that I get connected to like the food and beverage that's a part of the network? Like, are those sort of recommendations or like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So we have a really cool retro version of the Neighbourgood Yellow Pages. So we have lots of fun in the process of curating city-specific and neighborhood-specific content, our favorite recommendations, where we think you should go, community groups, micro communities that we think you should join, running clubs that we're associated with, so that you don't have to go looking for that. Yeah. It's a safe
and you
space.
Feel like you have an invitation. Like
100%.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can choose what makes sense to you, whether it's joining the Running Late Club that we have a really cool collaboration with in Cape Town that runs, and it's just like such a cool community of amazing people, or you want to join something else that sort of is more interesting to you. If you're not a runner, maybe it's a writing club or a design club or just a walk up Table Mountain, or you want to visit sort of the famous Oranje City Market, which is Cape Town's best food and beverage market on a Saturday. There'll be a group for you to connect with, or if you just want to join, First Thursdays, which happens once a month, and it's like a really massive event on Cape Town's Bree Street, which is an incredible space to be on First Thursdays. So there's just something happening all the time. that you can choose based on your wants. We
Yeah.
also we've recently acquired a business that's been really interesting to us, which is a travel and experience company, which gives you access to peer recommendations that you can read content delivered by local Cape Townians who share a whole bunch of really cool things. And so that will all happen on our app as well if you want to look online. But the magic really happens in the physical and when you interact with the communities across our spaces and experiences.
But the app will help you find the physical because
Correct.
it's not
Yeah.
easy. Yeah.
No,
Um,
it's not.
it's totally not easy. So, okay, so Redwood City, are you coordinating with multiple asset owners, or is it one asset owner that has multiple buildings that you're going to
At
start with?
the moment, it's one they own 3 buildings
Okay.
with access to other opportunities. We're looking at the workspace, which is an independent property owner. We're fairly agnostic to the one common denominator is that people need to be good people. So we choose to work with good landlords and good people who share our value system.
I was going to say
And you
the
get
alignment of values. Like if they look at your vision and they're like, yeah, we're not, no thanks, then that's it.
yeah,
I mean, they have to be
exactly.
pretty committed to, I mean, and
Completely.
about your vision. Yeah. Yeah. And your
Completely.
brand. I mean, it's unique. So it's probably somewhat easy to screen people who are in.
100%. I
Yeah.
think our focus will not be necessarily just around Redwood City. It will be around the whole Bay Area.
Yeah.
So
It's super
we
dense.
want
It's
to
an
be everywhere.
interesting geographic, because I don't know what the population of Redwood City is. 30,000. It's like a small
Yeah,
town, but
I know
it's
it
so
is.
dense. You go from one 30,000 to another 30,000. It's very dense. Yeah.
And these
Come up
like
to
little micro
Burlingame.
communities. I know we will. We need to open a work club there.
So there's
So I think
there's such a, we have the like Regis and spaces, and there's just not a lot of local. So my space was in Palo Alto, which is right
was
next
it
door to Redwood City. There's nothing
okay.
in Redwood City that I'm aware of. There's another operator who is very premium that's in Menlo Park. It's a beautiful
Got you.
space, very premium. There's just not a lot of workspace. I mean, it's really interesting
Mm,
because the peninsula is so dense. It's because real estate is so expensive, is my
expensive.
theory. So I
Yes.
think it has to be part of a bigger vision. To your point, if you're trying to make it accessible, yeah, what does that, what does that look
Yeah.
like? So that's exciting.
There's vacancy, and so I think there are problems to solve for landlords, especially in the office and commercial sector. I don't think that we are going to go back to sort of pre 2015 times where you could just command any price.
Oh, no,
Um,
even here, I mean, I look around and I think who's ever taking that space, and there's a lot of talk about, conversion. So is your model an opportunity to convert like commercial to residential? I know that structurally can be really challenging, but is that something you consider, or?
Yes, I think we could look at hybrid buildings that offer a series of mixed uses. I think that depending on the building's nature, residential is one option. Collaborative workspace that are and buildings that are highly amenitized, where it's not just functional A, B, or C grade offices, is interesting to us as well. And taking it through the conversion, making it culturally relevant again. I think that the level of conversion or adaptive reuse that needs to happen globally is so
Yeah.
significant. I don't think anyone knows how much space needs to be changed. I see that in the US, the government has released like debt strategies to help landlords reposition assets from office to residential to help solve the problem. But what people undervalue is how important the operator is to making the magic happen.
Oh,
Um,
100%. When you say people, is that a landlord? Like who undervalues that?
yeah, I think, property owners are specific animals and they are generally managing numbers. As you get people who are more intrinsically involved who, really like you can pick up the phone and phone them. But generally speaking, 90% of big landlords have a limited bandwidth to operationally get involved at the asset
Oh
level.
yeah.
And the problem is that the solution requires it. So you either have to have an amazing operator that you partner with, or you need to do it yourself, which is far harder to do. And property
Right.
managers in any space are not necessarily, property managers are functional themselves. They collect rent, they send an invoice, they're good at technical maintenance. They aren't hospitality people and community people. And you really need all of these things,
Yeah.
including the unsexy stuff,
Yeah.
uh, to be a more sort of sustainable version and bring cultural relevance. And I keep using that word because
No,
it's
I
like,
love it. Actually, when you said it, I was like, yeah, I mean, that really strikes a chord.
yeah,
Yeah,
you just have to define personalities, and you can't. There has to be that soul in the building that operates in the day to day, and that human face and that kindness and that warmth that we seek about, which is super important. And it's just a living, breathing organism that has a personality, and people interact with it on the day to day. And I think that is the solution, and not just making it look cool, if that
yeah,
makes sense, or having a gym in the basement, or a paddle court or something like that, or a
yeah,
pickleball court, or
yeah.
those are things that you need to have as well, and amenities. But to bring it to life, the people factor is necessary, which I think is harder to get right than landlords may think it is.
Oh, 100%. I mean, yeah, speaking to the choir, I think you're 100% right. And I think it's so rare when we see it. I was in Washington, D.C. for the GWA conference and toured Tishman Spire. I don't know if you've been through some of their properties. I think they get it. They are
Got you.
real, like in DC, they had a property. So they have Studio is their workspace brand. And then across the street,
Mm,
they have a pretty big Class A building. They have this amazing food hall in the retail level, and food of course is, but they really committed the whole ground floor real estate to this food hall, but also all this community space where you can sit
awesome.
with your laptop, you can have a meeting with somebody who's upstairs. Like, it's so, like, a very simple example,
Yes. No,
but
it's awesome.
so activated and like authentic feeling. To your point, you just feel this like vibrancy when you go in, which is
Completely.
so unique. Yeah.
It
And
is
to your
unique.
point, it's like you really, and we met some of the property managers and or I guess they are asset managers, which it's sort of unique. They just really get it, right? Like what
Understand
that
it
feeling is that you're going for and how to put the pieces together. They're also in that food hall doing aggregated buying for the vendors. So they're
wow.
like, really, yeah. I mean, just a lot of thoughtful things to try to make it really sustainable for the vendors to be there.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but it's so like I can think of so few of those. And interestingly, in the Bay Area, given how like technologically advanced it's just there's not a lot of it, and the built environment is pretty uninspiring on the peninsula.
It's
So
interesting.
I think there's a lot of opportunity for what you're doing. I think it's really
Completely.
exciting. Yeah. And so many people come, and you think about all the people and young engineers who come to work for Google or Facebook who, I think are probably exactly your profile. How do they get
Completely.
integrated into the community? Yeah. So there's
Those mixed use environments that you're talking about are definitely the exception rather than the rule.
yeah.
It's hard to find. Pond City is another one in Atlanta that stands out for me as an exceptionally well executed mixed use development that has a really great combination of food. I know Industrious are upstairs. There's
Mhm.
beautiful rooftop space, and it's
Yeah.
surrounded by the belt line, which is incredible. That is the future of where physical space should go. And hopefully we can play in that space within a citywide network if we can.
Yeah. It's incredible. So I can't, okay, you have to promise that you'll let me know when you're going to be in town so I can.
Of course I
So
will. Yeah.
mentioned workspace in January. What, yeah, well, I mean, what's a broad timeline? Is this over years that it takes you to sort of implement this, or
No, I think scale can come a lot quicker now. I
okay.
think the reality is because we're using opcode to enter into management agreements, it takes us about 60 to 90 days to open a space from signing an agreement. So I don't think that scale will be an issue at all. I think we'll have our workspace open really quickly in Redwood City, but we wouldn't open a second in Redwood City. We might clip on another 40 or 50 residential buildings, but we don't necessarily see a massive need for multiple workspaces in Redwood. It's just too small. We would rather end up opening in Palo Alto, in San Francisco, in really cool neighborhoods across the Bay Area.
Wait a minute for San Francisco, but there's plenty of space. I'm not sure about the humans, but
I know. I've seen that as well.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Make your way up the peninsula and then San Francisco.
I might ask you for some guidance in terms of
I was going to say, I'm always happy to chat about local.
Thank you.
And I have I'll send you after we record. I have two other ideas for you in terms of
I'm such a sucker for trying to solve problems that I look at San Francisco as one big opportunity. I'm like, how can we adaptively use this whole city? But I think it's a harder problem to solve for one company, that's for sure.
Totally could get, and I do think, that's kind of what they're looking at. Like, how do we just totally reinvent this thing in a very different, and certainly San Francisco is very liberal, in all the ways, and very sort of progressive in thinking that way. So it's funny. I was listening to a podcast the other day about the difference between entrepreneurs and business owners, and entrepreneurs are born looking at those gaps, right? Like they see problems, and I can tell that's how your brain thinks. Like you just see big problems
to solve.
I know. And then what's next? How do we solve the next thing?
I know.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who's an entrepreneur that I spend some time chatting to in a podcast that we've just launched as well.
Your own podcast now?
We've just launched it, and we'll be launching in November. It's called the Real Good Podcast by Neighbourgood, and it's a real estate entrepreneurial podcast.
Okay, so send the link when it's up so we can share it.
I will do that. Thank you. I appreciate it. But he was saying that as entrepreneurs, we're permanently frustrated because
exactly.
We wake up every day like we're never 100% happy with what's going on because we always want to try and make things better. And I'm like, is that going to be my life for the rest of my life? But
hopefully we can. Is your wife wired the same way, or how do your personalities fit?
She is blessed and cursed with a left and a right brain. And so that is probably some of the most talented people in the world have both. And unfortunately, she has it because she's exceptionally detailed, but at the same time, exceptionally creative and talented. So
totally, I agree. Rare, really rare. Wow.
Super rare. Yeah. And so she's built anything that the brand touches. So anything from our website to the product offering in real time to all the small details that make the customer experience as good as it is. And she's definitely someone who has been integral to the process, and we work exceptionally well together, which is awesome because I think, life's journey is hopefully a good one. And it's been a really incredible experience building something from the ground up with her and St. John, who's also an amazing mind himself, and an entire management team now that we've slowly built over time that I think are as competent as they could ever be, and a team across all of our locations who really believe in the product offering and in what we're building together. So it's I think when your vision and your mission are clearly defined and relatable, and you can identify with the product offering, and you can believe in adaptive reuse and bringing good to the world, and you accept that sometimes things are never perfect, but you're always pushing in the right direction. Even when we make mistakes as a sort of 3.5-year-old company, which I'm sure we'll do, even if we were 20 or 30 years old, it's just much easier to get up every day and fight for what we're building. So that's been an awesome experience, moving out of functional company running into more purpose-driven, real estate space in a very mixed use setting, doing cool new stuff within a connected city product offering.
Yeah. Incredible. Okay. So I promised you we'd be done so you could do bath time, and probably you have to do bath time and bedtime and then take another round of
exactly
meetings and calls. That might work well for a while. Yes. And I have to go. It's Halloween here. Do you celebrate Halloween? Cape Town?
We do, yeah, we
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
But I'll be in bed by that stage.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have to see if my daughter in her Barbie costume needs a ride to school. So,
Okay,
okay.
sweet.
Thank you for taking the time to
It
share
is
this.
such a pleasure.
Incredible. So now I'm gonna, keep my eyes on everything you're doing.
Thank
And
you so
yes, if
much.
you have time next time you're in town,
I will.
um, let me know. Thanks.
I will for sure. Otherwise, my team are there, and maybe.
Totally. Anybody. I'll meet anybody
Okay,
that comes
awesome.
over. See what you're up to. And you have to let
Thanks,
me know when the
Jamie.
workspace opens for
I
sure.
will definitely.
Yeah.
I'll let you know. Thank you for having us, and well done on everything you guys are doing, and look forward to connecting again soon.